In this video, I will discuss some tips for writing a solid term paper. I will cover selecting the topic, constructing the research question, identifying the methods of inquiry, formulating a thesis statement, building topic sentences, and discussing the findings. First of all, make life easy. Start working on the assignment right away. The assignment is due at the end of the semester, but the sooner you begin working on it, the easier the workload will be and the higher quality product you will complete at the end of the course. I suggest you start by identifying a chapter in the textbook that you find interesting and finding a topic right away. Selecting the topic. So like I just said, what chapter in the textbook did you find most interesting? Because you are able to choose your own topic for this assignment, sometimes students have a hard time identifying topics that are relevant to the course. In order to make sure that your topic is relevant to the course, you can start by identifying a chapter in the textbook you find interesting. Then, what is it about the topic that you'd like to learn more about? So start to focus that topic selection. Narrowing down the topic. Let's say you found Chapter 10 on the judicial branch pretty interesting. You can focus it further to the U.S. Supreme Court. Even further, to U.S. Supreme Court vacancies, appointments, and ideology. Even further to the ideological leaning of Supreme Court appointees. Do you see how I started with a chapter 10, a very broad topic, the judicial branch, and slowly narrow the topic further and further? Next, you want to formulate a research question. What is it about the ideological leaning of appointees that you want to learn more about? You can conduct a preliminary search. So, plug in those topic terms and see what you find. You can ask yourself questions like how, what, and why. When you start to formulate a question, you want to ask yourself, is it too broad or too narrow? Does it provide a new take, or is it boring? Here's some examples. On the left, you see an example of a weak, bad question, and on the right, you see an example of a strong, good question. An example of a weak, bad question. Does ideology play a role in Supreme Court vacancies? Well, this question is a bit too vague, and one could say it's also boring, because we know from the text that it does. So it doesn't provide anything new to the contribute anything new to the research that we don't already know. The next one. Do presidents appoint judges to the Supreme Court who adopt the same ideological leaning as themselves? Now, this one isn't as vague as the first one. It's more focused and clear, but like the first one, it is boring. We already know that they do, as identified in the textbook and the readings. Here is an example of a strong, good question. What are the conditions under which U.S. presidents are more likely to appoint moderate nominees to the Supreme Court? This question is very clear and concise. Here's another one. Should U.S. presidents appoint nominees with similar ideological leanings as themselves to the Supreme Court? After you've formulated a clear and concise research question, you want to begin identifying the methods of inquiry. You want to ask yourself, what information is needed to answer my research question? How will I use the information I collect to answer the question? Here are some example methods of inquiry. You can use qualitative methods, quantitative methods, inductive reasoning, deductive, practical research, theoretical research, applied research, evaluation research, exploratory, cross-sectional, longitudinal, case study, and/or correlation regression analysis. I do not expect you to understand correlation regression analysis at this point in your studies, but you can be aware that it does exist, and if you go on to graduate school, you may be engaging in it. So after you formulate the question and you identify the methods of inquiry, then you want to start formulating a thesis statement. Your thesis statement needs to be a direct answer to the research question. It should be supported by the research that you conducted. It also needs to be clear and concise. Here are some examples. Again, let's say the topic is the ideological leaning of Supreme Court appointees. Your research question is, what are the conditions under which U.S. presidents are more likely to appoint moderate nominees to the Supreme Court? Your methodology is quantitative, deductive, and correlational. Here is some thesis statements. Number 1, presidents nominate moderate candidates. This does not answer the research question. It's too vague, it tells us nothing, and it's not argumentative. Let's try this again. Liberal presidents are more likely to nominate moderate candidates. This just tells us the distinction between liberal and conservative presidents. It does not align with the research question. Argumentative, but framed improperly. Let's try this once more. 3. Presidents are more likely to nominate moderates to the Supreme Court during their last term in office, under divided government, and during depressions. This is an argumentative and a direct response to the research question. It is properly aligned, introduces the main findings of the research, and sets a clear, focused path for analysis. Building topic sentences. Now, when you get into the body of your work, you want to organize the body of the work in a logical manner. You can organize it by issue, by chronology, or concept. Begin each section with a strong and intriguing topic sentence. Here are some examples. The economy affects judicial appointments. What are you talking about here? This is boring. This tells us nothing. Let's try it again. Presidents are more likely to appoint moderate candidates during times of economic depression. This topic sentence is significantly better. It gives us a much more information and direction for the rest of the paragraph or section. Now, towards the end, you want to discuss the findings after you have conducted your research. And you want to discuss the limitations of those findings as well. So how generalizable are your findings? You want to first summarize the findings, and then you want to critique and analyze those findings. How generalizable are they? Are they only specific to California? Are they only specific to the United States? How generalizable are these findings? Not only that, but what don't we know? What questions were left unanswered? And potential future avenues for research. How can future scholars build upon the work that you've just conducted? So to review, you want to first build an introduction. You want to introduce the topic, state your research question, methods, and thesis. In the body, you want to start with strong topic sentences and then conduct your analysis. In the conclusion, you want to discuss the findings, restate the thesis, and identify any limitations or avenues for future research. Don't forget to provide a works cited. Also, don't forget to review the rubric. Rubrics can be very helpful in constructing a very strong paper. When you get to the end and you think you're done with your paper, I highly, highly suggest that you review the rubric and apply the rubric yourself to your paper, and then make improvements before submission if you feel they are necessary.